Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics on Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Stay tuned. Those of you who are just joining, the first thing I want to ask you to do is please go ahead and share this program. Share this program on your wall. Share this program on your Twitter. Share your program on Facebook, everywhere. If you are listening to this on a podcast, on Stitcher, on TuneIn, or whatever, please go ahead and share this program as well. This is a call-in show, of course. You can give us a call at 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. We will be waiting for your calls. Please let us know what you want to know. I mean, we have a program set out for you, but as you know, this is your show. And as your show, you can determine to take it in whatever direction you want to take the show. Folks, please listen to this. I mean, before we get into the show, I just had to show this, the type of president that we have, because this stuff is utter, and this stuff is this is America. You remember when we were considered leaders. You remember where people looked up to us for what's going on in the world. You remember when we were the ones that led in because we had the resources, not because we're better than anybody else, but because we had the resources, and those resources, in as much as we always had extraction and as much as we always had exploitation, these resources were here to help. Michael Rudnin, go ahead and put a link to that inside of the thing, please, inside of our notes so that I can see that, please. But yes, folks, we were a time, we had the resources. We still have the resources. But when you're talking about pilfering, but look, listen to what concerns this president. I want you to listen to this.
Mr. President, have U.S. forces in Iraq taken any precautions because of this particular attack? And have you...
They're taking precautions, and we are watching it very closely. And if something bad happens, it's going to be very painful for the other side.
Have you been in touch with the Iraqi government about this?
They know about it, yeah. They know about it.
Are they offering additional protection?
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But, we're down to a small force now over the years. Since we've been bringing smaller and smaller. And we're down right now to a small number, but we have very powerful air power there. We have the big base, and which will, nobody can get near it. And nobody can even get near that. But we've really largely left. We've taken tremendous amounts out, and we've deployed them elsewhere, including bringing some back home.
And do you think tweeting about it will help prevent that from happening, or perhaps get them a heads up?
It's social media. It gets out. I have, hundreds of millions of people. Number one on Facebook. Did you know I was number one on Facebook? And I just found out I'm number one on Facebook. I thought that was very nice, for whatever it means. No, it represents something. And when I can explain to people, just don't do it. It's going to be bad if you do. It's going to be really bad. And they don't need to do it. They have enough problems. Iran has enough problems.
Now, think about that. We were talking about, hey, how you doing, Bruce Pollard, Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. I want you guys to really think about the implications of what you just saw there. The president is supposed to be talking about a new front, right? A new front against narcotics. By the way, folks, let me tell you, Southern Command used to be headquartered in Panama, the country that I'm from. And anytime you hear about something being controlled by the Southern Command, I think they're probably headquarters in Florida now. I'm not exactly sure where, but it was headquarters in the Canal Zone in Panama before the turn of the century, before the canal was turned back over to Panama. But anytime you hear about the United States doing anything via the Southern Command, some Latin American country is getting ready to be invaded, or some Caribbean country is getting ready to be invaded. So, folks, get ready, because as it turns out, Venezuela, El Señor Maduro, look out, because Donald Trump has so screwed up the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, that is probably where he's heading to. Anyhow, let's talk about what our show is going to be about today. But beforehand, those of you just joining us, please go ahead and share these programs, whether you are on Facebook or otherwise. That is how we are going to get the truth out. That is how we are going to make sure that America stays informed, because right now the job isn't getting done. And you're going to see some of the stuff that we talk about with one of the videos that I have here to show you. Anyhow, folks, anybody wants to call in, give us a call, 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Can't wait to hear from some of you. Can't wait to hear from you. So what is the program about today? The program today is titled, and I bring it up as we speak, Prepare for Health and Economic Rebirth. Prepare for health and economic rebirth even as COVID-19 pandemic worsens. Yes, it's going to get worse. It's starting to get bad. I just looked at the numbers a few hours ago, and we were at over 5,500 people. Last night, I think we were at 40-something hundred people. Okay? Now, the devastation by the COVID-19 pandemic is real. It is real. Activists, however, cannot let up. The corporate sector is already pilfering Americans and writing laws that favor them, the few. It is clear that corporations are starting to use COVID-19 to profiteer. The thing about it is a lot of this isn't seen. A lot of this is done in such a manner that sometimes we don't quite get it. But I need you. I need you to understand what's going on. I beg of thee to understand what's going on. And I also beg of thee to share these things so that other people can see it, because we are the ones who are going to have to save ourselves. MSNBC is not going to do it for you. CNN not going to do it for you, because they can't. It is clear that corporations are starting to use COVID-19 to profiteer. While many are under stress as their loved ones are suffering from COVID-19, those who are progressive activists, while showing the necessary empathy for the plight of our families, friends, and acquaintances, have got to keep our eyes on the ball. We have to keep our eyes on the ball, and that is to protect us all from that machine that finds every disaster. There's a book out there called Disaster Capitalism or something of that nature. The woman that I interviewed, what's her name? I can't remember her name, Canadian writer on the environment and all these things. But the truth of the matter, folks, is every time one of these incidents happen, and this is one of the worst, they try to restructure to benefit the few, to benefit the plutocracy. So we have to keep our eye on the ball. You see, those who are a part of this extractive economic machine are not resting. They have started their game. Folks, anybody who want, Naomi Klein, thank you, Michael Rudnin. Naomi Klein is who I was talking about. Please, folks, I need you. If anybody wants to call in, 646-716-5812. 5812. I want to go ahead and play this piece, and then I'm going to come back. This is an important piece that we have that Rachel Maddow did. Yes, Houston got 40 plus new cases from yesterday. Well, you know, Lawrence Sim, what's happening is the problem with Texas is we haven't been testing like New York. I have a feeling when we start testing a lot of those pneumonias, a lot of those things that you see people have right now throughout the state, it's going to turn out to be coronavirus. But here's the problem. New York is a very well-insured state. 96% of New Yorkers are insured. They may not have the best insurance, but they're not going to suffer the catastrophe Texans are going to suffer. And remind me to go into that later on, because this is going to form a part of what this show is about today when I say we have to start looking forward and start building plans, not allowing these people to privatize and do the things that they're starting to. We're going to take a look at an article after in a minute. But let's go ahead and take a look at this here, and then we'll move on from there. Let's go. Every single day, the president is given a platform to come to the American people and lie. A platform that makes it seem, the way he talks, as if the coronavirus crisis, the pandemic, is somehow being handled in an appropriate way by El Presidente. But listen to this from Rachel Maddow, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Because the White House has not tried to nationalize the supply chain for personal protective equipment even today, PPE and other critical medical supplies, U.S. companies that manufacture that kind of stuff, even this week, have been selling it overseas. People who've got it in warehouses in this country are exporting it because the federal government hasn't told them that's a bad idea or they shouldn't be doing it. Forbes reporting that on Monday alone this week, 2 days ago, roughly 280 million masks in warehouses around the United States were purchased by foreign buyers to be sent out of this country because the federal government has not made arrangements to keep that material here for U.S. use. A FEMA spokesperson telling Politico.com that FEMA, quote, has not actively encouraged or discouraged U.S. companies from exporting such materials overseas. The Washington Post reporting that there are no signs that the Trump administration has made any effort to stop U.S. companies from exporting medical masks and other supplies so they could be used in U.S. hospitals instead. The New York Times now reporting this evening that thousands of the ventilators the federal government does have in its stockpile, ventilators that it keeps promising it's going to send out to where they're needed, thousands of those machines do not work because the Trump administration allowed the contract to maintain these machines to lapse last summer. Please, could we have a new federal government? At least just for this. 4,700 American lives and counting. And this is still how bad they are, this how far into it. It's not just a case that this virus is a crisis and that this infectious disease is spreading in the United States and we have to cope with it and it's got exponential growth. It's not just the natural attack of the virus. This far into it, with us this much exposed to it already, so much exposed that we're closing in on 5,000 Americans dead by tomorrow. With the White House expecting, hoping that they'll keep the death range for Americans between 100,000 and 250,000 people, right? This far into it, the federal government, the stuff they are actively in control of and nobody else is, that stuff doesn't get better ever. They're not nationalizing the federal supply chain, the national supply chain for protective equipment and for other medical supplies. Even when the military is volunteering things for civilian use, they're not even able to get it together to do that. They're not able to get it together to communicate truthful information as to what the federal government's supplies are and how many they have. And the stuff they've got, they have not been keeping in running order because they let the maintenance supply contracts lapse. And they're not getting any better, you guys. I mean, maybe today the Surgeon General just declared a national stay-at-home order. Maybe. But maybe that was kind of a mistake. Still, it sort of went into effect in a few states. The states basically continue to muddle on alone. In New York, the recently retired New York City Police Commissioner was brought back on board today to try to coordinate the supply and distribution of PPE, protective equipment, among the hard-hit hospitals in New York City. As facilities are being built in places like Detroit at their giant convention center, facilities that will take coronavirus patients as a relief valve for Detroit's hospitals, questions are being raised as to why the surge facilities the federal government helped with in New York were designated by the federal government for non-coronavirus patients only. And this actually appears to be a developing story tonight. I'll tell you, a source familiar with this matter tells us tonight that the U.S. naval ship Comfort, which pulled into New York Harbor to great fanfare this week, source familiar with the matter tells us tonight that the Comfort has fewer than 5 patients as of this evening. 1,000 beds, fewer than 5 people on board. The Javits Center, where they have set up 4 field hospitals with 250 beds each. They're going from 1,000 beds to 2,000 beds soon. Right now, the Javits Center, with its 1,000 beds already set up and running, they've got fewer than 10 patients. Why is that? Well, tell me why the federal government has decided that neither of those facilities can have coronavirus patients. And then look at the number of coronavirus patients in New York City hospitals right now, and you start to get toward that math.
Understand what is going on here, people. Understand what's going on here. The reality is that the reason the government refuses to federalize the supply chain is because I can guarantee you the friends of Donald Trump, etc., are loving that New York is paying $50,000 for a ventilator that General Motors was willing to bill for $18,000, and that really costs likely $500. The reality is, folks, that we are being ripped off. The coronavirus pandemic is used by this evil business structure to make a whole lot of money on all of our backs. Don't think they're otherwise. It would have made a whole lot more sense for Donald Trump to federalize all the supply chain, and it would look like he saved the day. But that's not what they want. They want to maximize the amount of money they can make by having states bid the prices up, and then the federal government pays for some, the states pay for some. But guess what? The private sector makes a killing. I gave you some videos a few days ago that shows how they're really trying to prop up the private sector, claiming how great and magnanimous the private sector is. What they mean is, these corporations are. No, these are corporations that are trying to profit off of this pandemic, just like they profit off of your illness. Why they don't want Medicare for all? Because they want to do what capitalism tells them, whatever the market will bear. And that is all the money you have, all the credit you can attain, and everything that you can steal. People, we are at the bottom. Our economic system right now has crashed. We just haven't realized it yet. It has crashed. It is on rebuilding. We have to make sure that it is rebuilt for us and not rebuilt on our backs. All of these things are tied in together. And that's what we try to do here, to show how they are all tied in. The supply chain is being bidded up to make a few people a whole lot of money. People are dying because it is more efficient to do things the way they're doing it to make a dollar. Folks, we have to wake up. And when we rebuild this system, when this pandemic is over, we have to make it a people-centric economy. Forget about what these presidential candidates are talking about, come to the center and all of that. That is not what's going to do it. What's going to do it is that we must have a solid social safety net, Medicare for all, child care. We must have these policies as a fabric of this new economy that we are going to build after the pandemic is over. Okay, folks, I hope you agree with that. I'd love to hear some comments about that. But as it turns out, we have to understand what's going on there. That is not an accident. Donald Trump loves power. We know that. Donald Trump loves power. So one has to ask themselves, why is it that he's not using that power that he has to go ahead and tell companies, you have to manufacture this, you have to go, because we're in a pandemic, you have to manufacture these things, you cannot export these things. Why is it that he's not doing that? And there's only one plausible answer. And we can see it in what the states are telling you. You can see it in what Andrew Cuomo is telling you. You can see it in what every state that is trying to get these equipments are trying to tell you. They're telling you specifically, I am bidding against other states. And after I have won my bid against the other states, guess who I must bid up against? FEMA, the federal government. And in bidding against the federal government, the price just keeps going up. And even if the federal government is the one who pays the higher price, it's still our dollars, right? It's still our dollars going towards the corporatocracy, either through taxes by the federal government, which is we pay, or the taxes through the state government, which who pays again that again? Oh, we pay that too. What a shame. So we have to understand that. Now the other thing that's coming, this morning I woke up and I sat down in the living room. I went to bed at 3, I think it was about 3:30 this morning. Got up about 7:30. And walked into the room and my wife was in there watching TV and watching this stuff about the coronavirus, and she says, what do you think? She was talking about these people that are unemployed or whatever, and I don't think she quite grasped initially how serious the situation is really going to be. So I started to go through the whole issues of what's going to disappear and why it's never going to come back to the way it was before. Let me give you a few examples. A lot of Americans, first of all, are going to learn that the simple life is a lot less stressful. That means a lot of businesses that depended on a very consumerist American that's going to change. A lot of Americans are going to see credit card bills that they had never seen before, low credit card bills, because there's something that we don't understand, right? When you go to the store and all of the times and you buy something for $5 here, $10 here, $15 here, 10 here, it doesn't seem like a lot as you buy, but when you get the bill at the end of the month and you see that, oh wow, all these little bills added up to $700, $800, $1,000 or whatever. And then during this hiatus that we have that we're staying home, we are still eating well because we went to the grocery stores and we packed up and we did things just fine. And you start looking at the credit cards. I was telling my wife that. I said, I look at a credit card and it's like, wow, she was the one who did most of the spending. Where, you don't have those incidental spending. So you're not making a lot of money because you're not out at work. But at the same time, you're saving all this money from not being out at work, and you have a lot of other things that you're able to do. So a lot of people, not all, but there's a certain segment that's going to see that and say, wow, a simpler life, blood pressure low, I don't have to rush and do XYZ. I kind of like that. So there's going to be a segment that does that. There's going to be another segment, even when people get to put their masks on and go out there to live again, these restaurants are probably going to have to spread their tables out further, including all these nice small restaurants that we loved. These nice rinky-dinky restaurants that great food. No more. Because this social distancing is probably going to last for 2-3 years, right? Until we get a vaccine, until until we've developed natural immunity to this vaccine, because most of us have gotten it, so we have community immunity. So a lot of people are not going to be going back to these types of restaurants, so they'll never reopen. Then, of course, we have the people whose jobs are going to disappear because of this new way of doing business. Amazon is hiring 100,000 people. Do you think Amazon is ever going to stand a chance of laying off any of those people to go back into some other industries? And what they're going to realize is brick and mortar stores, they were already in the decline, but there are a lot of older people, the baby boomers that, they'll get a onesie, twosie things at Amazon, but they are so used to going to the store to shop, shopping online for the next 3 months, one, realize you can be in your pajamas and with your laptop, like what I do. Well, I don't wear pajamas, but I don't go to stores. I do everything online. When more people realize that, that entire sector remains depressed because people have learned new things. So we're not going to have the same kind of economy that we had before. In fact, we're likely to have a much more efficient economy than we had before. And efficiency is the thing of capitalism, right? People look at efficiency as the best thing. Efficiency is not always the best thing, right? Efficiency is not always the best thing, but we can talk about that further on or another time. But we're going to get a much more efficient economy as we have less personal interaction and as everything is now industrialized. You know, the way you shop for this and you shop for that is going to come about. So those industries are not coming back. But it's not only that those industries are not going to come back, but all those people that worked within those industries and all those industries that serviced those industries, all those companies that serviced brick and mortar, all those companies that service uniforms and badges and all these things that these people had to use in the retail sector, those companies now suffer as well. So it's a chain reaction to depression. And it's a part that's hard for many to understand that. And this is what I was explaining to her this morning. I was like, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people think, okay, so we go back and maybe the restaurants aren't going to open anymore, but other things are going to be open, etc. But no, the mere fact that those restaurants are not open, and the mere fact that these little companies that these little mom and pop stores in the strip centers, all of those are gone. They were not businesses all onto themselves. They were businesses who purchased from other businesses who purchased from other businesses. So the whole paradigm, there's going to be an entire paradigm shift. What this means is there's going to be a lot of dislocation. And how do we handle said dislocation? Folks, if you're just joining us, please do remember to go ahead and share these programs. It's essential that people understand this because a lot of this isn't going to be talked about on the news media. A lot of this is not going to be talked about elsewhere. So I ask you so kindly to go ahead and share these programs. It is rather essential that we do that. So going back to the dislocation. So what we have to start fighting for. One of the reasons that I said we can't wait till this is over because the capitalists, the business people, they know that this restructuring is going to occur. And they are already starting to form their rules and laws of how they want this new economy to operate because it's not coming back the same. And they have the ear of Congress. They are there already with Congress. What are we doing? What are the activists on the progressive sides going to do? Wait for them to say this is how the new economy is going to operate. This is how we're going to operate going forward. We already have Biden coming out saying, oh, no, we don't want Medicare for all. No, we have to start determining what this is going to look like. That is what we have to start worrying about. And it is essential that Americans are educated. It is essential that we just don't sit back and wait. So how do we start doing this? I'm just a talking head right now. How do we turn a talking head? How do we turn a listener into actually doing something? Well, you know, we already have a plan. The truth of the matter is we have a plan that most Americans already say they want. And believe it or not, whether you support Bernie Sanders or not, I really don't care. Because here's the thing. I support Bernie Sanders because of the policies that he put out there. The same like with Elizabeth Warren because of the people-centric policies they support. And it's not that some far left thing, the corporatocracy would want you to believe that these are far left issues that don't concern you. Well, coronavirus is telling us now that no, these are not far left issues. These are issues that America not only wants, but America are going to have. especially after the coronavirus causes a complete restructuring of the American economy. So what do we do? All right, like I said, if you wanted to see all the different types of policies, visit Elizabeth Warren's website, visit Bernie Sanders' website. Those are the only two websites you need. Andrew Yang with basic income, the basic income portion of his website may be worth looking at as well. Okay, because yes, we are going to need to have going forward a basic income. A basic income is going to be a necessity going forward. When Mitt Romney decided to say that we needed to have $1,000 going to all Americans, that should have told you the thinking is changing. We are going to have to listen to people like Stephanie Kelton with the modern monetary theory. We're going to have to start thinking outside of the box. We're going to have to forget about this thing called budget deficit as if it meant something. We should know by now it means nothing if you could give a $1.5 trillion to a bunch of rich fat cats who took that money to enrich themselves and gave just 20% to the average American citizen, right? So we have to start, so what we have to do going forward is to start talking to our politicians. They are coming home. They're coming home. We're going to have to start getting into virtual groups online now that we can't really jump in the street and carry banners to our congressperson's place anymore. We're going to have to start creating virtual communities, and I'm going to see we are a group of us have just started a new project that you're going to see about called, in Spanish, is pon tu ladrillo, put your brick. And I think part of what my partner in Put Your Brick is going to start talking about are issues of this nature, issues that help people, start giving people that thing about take that. In Spanish, this is a guy from Venezuela, and again, he had a non-profit in Venezuela called Pon tu ladrillo, and translating it into English, we called it Put Your Brick. And it means that we are the ones who are going to put the brick to build this new economy. We are going to put the brick to build this new economy in the way that we want it, to serve people, to serve humanity first. We're no longer going to say we are going to structure our lives to business. We're going to start structuring business to our lives, to what we want it to be. Folks, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and share these programs. If you are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch, please go ahead and share these programs. Imperative. So, going forward, my friends, those are the kinds of things that we're going to have to do. Folks, if you want to give us a call at 646 716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. That is how we are going to get this done, folk. We are not going to, a lot of people think that we're going to sit down and somehow wait for things to happen. If we wait for things to happen, by the time they have happened, it'll be too late. By the time the guys have had the ears of the congresspersons, it would have been too late, because they are already there. They are already done that, etc., etc., etc. If you doubt it, take a look at, let me go ahead and get this in here, answer this question real quickly first. All right, there we go. Okay, so yeah, folks, so as it turns out, anyhow, let me go to a few questions first, and then I'm going to bring up the article that I wanted to talk about. Okay, Michael Rodney, I went ahead and looked at the link for the person with cancer. I didn't get a chance to completely read it yet. Facebook's own page, Samsung Cristiano Ronaldo, has the most followed. So even talking about him being the most followed person, he lied. Wow, amazing. I didn't even, The truth is, when he said that, I didn't even look it up. I had no interest in that. Okay. Lee Grant says, hi all. We probably shouldn't take advantage of the corona crisis to advance either of our political ends or commercial ends. You know, a friend of mine left a message inside of the thread, one of my threads. And she said, no, we can't be scared to politicize this right now. There's nothing wrong with politicizing, or there's nothing wrong with the word politics, right? Politics is how we the people serve we the people. Okay? And that's politics. We the people serving we the people. So we should have politicization, especially if things are not going the correct way. Michael Rudnin says, let's see, we have twice as many cases as any other nation, and the peak of the pandemic hasn't even hit. And that is a shame. And that has occurred because Donald Trump didn't want to make this a big thing yet. I am convinced that he wanted to have the private sector in position first before letting this stuff out of the bag. Rudnin also says, replying to Lee Grant, political end as a result of this pandemic, single-payer Medicare for all becomes a mainstream idea. We need to make sure as few of our people die from COVID-19 as possible, that none go bankrupt because of the crisis, and then expand the same ideas to all medical treatments. Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Mr. Rudnin. Lee Grant says, Maddow spent years and months pushing impeachment. That didn't work on her. Please don't believe that. Everything Maddow said about the impeachment was correct. That the Congress didn't muster the pelotas to get it done, that's a different story altogether, sir. Maddow is the nation's hallway monitor. Okay, I don't think there's a problem with that. Michael Rudnin says, replying to Lee Grant, leave the demonization to groups that like Occupy Democrats, as they made a 30-second attack ad containing nothing but Trump's own words being used against him. Yeah, I know. Profiteering is part and a parcel of a for-profit healthcare system. I'm still amazed that temporary nationalization of certain industries or manufacturing necessary medical equipment hasn't yet started. Rudnin, and that's what I was trying to tell you. The reason it hasn't started is because, there are kickbacks here. You know that Trump is getting virtual kickbacks. I mean, it's not going to show up in people. When you're in this industry, you just know to let things happen. For those of you who are on YouTube, don't forget, if you want to support our show, you can go ahead and super chat us. Click on that $ and super chat us to say, yes, I'm going to assist, making sure that you can continue to tell the truth, that you can continue to tell us that which is told by the mainstream media. And do remember, folks, again, like I said, we are going to be starting to work on virtual groups that we can start to go ahead and get these messages out there. One of the things that that coronavirus is really stopping, right, is activists from going out in the field with their signs and etc. Soon we will be able to do that with our masks on. We're going to have to develop some sort of a protocol among activists when we go out there and go see the senators and the congresspersons, but that's not yet developed. We've got to develop that because we cannot allow behind-the-scenes action to hurt us all. Okay, Rudnin said, who pays taxes? 48% individual taxes, 35% income taxes, 35% payroll taxes, 9% corporate taxes. We need the tax burden back to corporations. You're absolutely right about that, Rudnin. Let's see. Lee Grant says, we have to pay so many taxes, so it will be nice when Trump sends us each. Trump is not sending us a penny. We are creating new monies to recirculate into the economy. Listen to a podcast one of our great listeners asked me to listen to with Stephanie Kelton, who is the expert on modern monetary theory. Trump is just putting his name on the check. He's not doing a damn thing. Okay, Norman Reynolds, my brother, says, can an American patriot who venerates American lives agree that the American version of the management of the corona crisis is best? Let me see if I understand that. Can an American patriot who venerates American lives agree that the American version of the management of the corona crisis is best? Absolutely not. I would say that if you claim that without a political bent, you do not believe the way things are managed by this administration results in things that are not best in the world for you and your fellow Americans, you are not a virtuous actor or partner in a conversation. Now, that is a prescient statement from Norman Reynolds. You should call in and expand on that, Mr. Reynolds, because that is so true. Many won't quite understand the complexity and the level of indirection of your so truthful words. 646-716-5812. Anybody wants to call in? Okay, Michael Rudnin replying to Lee Grand. Yes, that will be nice. The problem is that the particular bailout of the people also includes between $500 billion and 4.5 trillion of corporate bailouts. Yeah, that can actually leverage itself to. That is what I'm telling you, people. If they can do that for corporations, we can have the Green New Deal. We can have Medicare. We can have all of that. And as Kelton said in her last thing, we have the only reason not to create money, not to do the what is it? Monetary theory, modern monetary theory, is because you don't want to get runaway inflation. That is what you have to prevent. You have to make sure that money means something. But I always tell this story to my listeners. If we have a lot of work to be done here, and over here we have a lot of workers, and we can put the two together, there's something inherently wrong with the economic system. 713, I'm coming to you in 1 second. Let me get to Troy. Hobby Lobby wanted to open most of their stores in spite of the stay-home order, but they have shut down their Colorado stores. Yeah, the cops had to go and shut down some of these stores. I mean, it shows you how much they care about their people. They care so much about their people, they don't mind if they get infected. Micah Running said, Bernie's the only presidential candidate still standing that fully supports single-payer Medicare for all to make sure all Americans are covered. That's true. Now, Elizabeth Warren's corollary wasn't as bad as a lot of us on the left thought it was. If you take a look at what she's saying, you'll see that. I got me somebody. So Mr. Williams thinks I'm an Uncle Tom. Who is that? Wolfman's. Who is that? Let's see. Wolfman Cell Bow Fetish. Okay, you got to explain that one for me. But let me get to the phone, and then I'll get back to these messages. 713, you are on, my friend. You are on.
Hey, Egberto, this is Norman.
Norman, talk to me, sir.
So, explaining my point, what I'm trying to say is that if we are agreeing right now that things in the American context of the coronavirus, the way we look at it right now, it is the best in class that our administration and our lives say we are exceptional and all that in the American community. If we are saying that we are at the best in class of doing management of this corona crisis, then we must have a political bent, because obviously this is not the best, and it's not the best for me or my fellow American here. So if I value American lives, I would never say that right now that we are in good shape. I see a lot of commenters going on and trying to divert things, trying to talk about the way things could be or should be looked at, and not looking at this as a political question. We have an administration. I think the administration right now has screwed this up, and we need to really recognize it as a fact rather than trying tiptoeing around it.
Man, I couldn't have said it any better, Mr. Norman Reynolds, because let me tell you something. And that is, but when you are ideological, I don't want to say ideologically impaired, right? Because all of us can be, right? All of us have the ability to be snowed. All of us have the ability to be fooled. All of us have the ability to. You are an engineer, I'm an engineer. So, I mean, we are more mathematical in our thinking process. But we have to be cognizant that all are not necessarily that way. And in doing so, that is the reason I take that is the reasons I take many of the approaches that I take with people. Because ideology, a lot of times, fuses a whole lot with culture. And until you can break that thing, it is very, very hard to get through that wall. And I think that is what, with my program, and I think I've been fairly successful in breaking that wall with quite a few, even some of my conservative listeners. The fact that everything that I say, they actually go out and then research to try to find a comeback. I want that. Because every comeback that they come with It's, you know what is called that game? Whack-a-mole game, right? Because we know math is absolute. So when somebody tells you Medicare for all is somehow there's a reason why Medicare for all, a single payer, is not more efficient and isn't more humane, you can always find that if one simple answer, if somebody is making a profit from delivery of healthcare, then that is a healthcare denied to others. It's not a difficult argument. Go ahead, Norman.
But that's really what I want to talk about. I want to make sure that we have virtual factors in our communication. I mean, if I'm going to talk to somebody about and be willing to listen to somebody talk about where to go from here, or if they need to acknowledge the same facts, the facts on the ground that I see. So thank you so much for your program. I'll keep on listening. Thanks.
Hey, thank you very much for calling in. Your words are important, and trust me, all the folks that listen to your word would have heard it. Thank you very much, Norman. All right, folks, let me continue with this. Let's see. Michael Rudnin says, universal basic income is a good idea for the next 5 months. We're trying to keep people who don't have to work to stay home so as to flatten the curve. Perfecto mundo, Michael Rudnin. Troy Astro says, meanwhile, Rick Santelli is like the corrupt broker shouting, turn those machines on, and everybody in Wall Street is at home. Hey, Troy, I don't know if you meant that to be funny, but that was damn funny, Troy. That was funny. Okay, Michael Rundin says, rallies will have to wait until September at the earliest. I know. That's a prediction for when the peak of the pandemic will be behind us. I know. Okay, Wolfman Selbo Fetish. So, Mr. Williams, I don't know who Mr. Williams is. I don't know if you're meaning me. I'm Mr. Willies, but I don't like that. I'm just Egberto, man. I'm just Egberto. And I don't know what you mean by Uncle Tom. So explain that to me, and then we'll move from there. Masticator or masticator, how you doing, my friend? The problem is you are using the fear to achieve a political end you could not have without crisis. So yes, it is wrong. Please, Lee Grant agrees with you, Mr. Masticator. I wish you guys could explain that to me, because what I'm using is not fair. What I'm using is an example to why the system, I'm using coronavirus. You see, coronavirus exposes the evil within the system right now. That's what coronavirus does. It shows you how evil the system is, that people can't get tests because some people want to make profits off of the test system, so we don't go ahead and pull the one that Germany has been using for weeks and being able to analyze their people. We chose to kill Americans because we weren't going to use that test that in these times, that test that was important. We killed Donald Trump and his cabal. And I will say it straight out, look into the camera. Donald Trump and his cabal killed American citizens. Several thousands of those that will die because we didn't test and were unable to contain this virus because they wanted profits for local companies as opposed to using the German company that already had the test developed. That's a fact. Take that to the bank. Okay, as far as so therefore, what I'm saying is this is how this system works. System works. It tells you we are into this for the maximization of profits for the shareholder. And the way we get there is whatever the market will bear. That is the definition of the type of economic system that we have. And as we have no regulations to control that efficiently, we get what we have. What Rachel Maddow spoke about with us having a warehouse full of 250 million masks that's going overseas. When we have our doctors begging for masks, all Donald Trump had to say is, I'm using the powers I got during the Korean War. You cannot export that. These will be sold market value locally to our country, to the people in our country. Didn't do that. Why? Because you can inflate the prices when they're going overseas, or whoever will pay the highest price. Come on, people. What I'm just pointing out at the beginning that coronavirus shows us that our economic system is evil. That's all. It takes when you go ahead and start arguing about profits, whether you're going to build a ventilator machine that you can build now and talk about money later. But no, we talk about money first. When you go into at a hospital in the United States of America, they don't first ask you what is wrong. They first ask you for your insurance. In other words, money first, you second. That's our system. You have to acknowledge that, people. And that's evil. That says everything is humanity is subservient to money. Lee Grant, it's not the best, but it may be the best we can do. It's not. Love you, Lee, and I'm glad you said that, Lee. You opened the door for me, Lee. It's not the best, but it may be the best we can do. You give me the opportunity to tell you, no, Lee, it's not the best we can do. Others have done better, and we can too. If I got you on board, Lee, if I got you on board, Brother Lee, we could do better. I mean that. If you were on board, Lee, and you said, forget about my ideology on this particular issue, Medicare for all, I'm going to come in full blast so that my brothers and sisters are not going to be bankrupt after this. Oh my God, I'm running out of time. Astro, let's see what happens. Joe Biden let us down in the past. Well, he has already done that. Masticator, LOL. I love these pseudo-intellectuals who say a lot of nonsense and think they're saying something deep. Please tell me what I said that was nonsense, Masticator. I'd love to hear that. Michael Rudnin, evils in the system, price gouging of necessity medical equipment will be top of the list. Thank you. You're right, absolutely right. Lawrence Sim says, well, that answer, what have you got to lose? Question for some said, we don't care. Exactly. Masticator, rationalization and justification. The Soviets were really good at that. Wow. Okay, Rudnin says, Egberto recommended article follow-up for tomorrow. Short version. Small companies take government contracts to make new, cheaper ventilators. Big corporations that makes old, expensive ventilators buy small companies, kills the contract so they could. Wow. Let's see, where's that article? Prospect.org. Thank you for pointing. I got to read that article. I've got to read that article. Thank you for finding that. Mike Cisak says, when you are lying, it's easy to claim something doesn't work. Egberto, you're lying about the test, mask, and everything else. Please prove that I'm lying. The shipments, you can go find the shipments that went overseas. Numero uno, check out Rachel Maddow's examples that were reported in several newspapers. Numero dos, as far as the tests are concerned, Germany was testing successfully for a very long time, a test that works. Our CDC test failed. So even that we couldn't do right. Germany was way ahead in building the test protocol and that there's no question about it. Mike Cisak, please don't do that. Don't do that, Mike. Don't do that. It's out there. Don't believe the right-wing stuff that you're listening to. That sole purpose is to defend Donald Trump. Anyhow, yesterday we spoke about, real quick, I'm going to go through this real quick. We had this thing yesterday where we spoke about people going for tests. Their doctor says you need to go in and get a test. And they get a test. If they don't have insurance or whatever, they get that big bill. Well, I want to read this little portion for you down here. This guy says it was $28,000. Let's see. The coronavirus bill passed. Leaves the hospital billers and coders with wide berth. Senseni went to the ER to get a test as he was instructed to do. When he called to protest his $1,622 bill for the hospital, his insurance discounted rate from the $2,500, a patient representative confirmed that the ER visit and other services performed would be eligible for cost sharing. In this case, all of it, since he had not met his deductible. Oh my God. Now, it also says in here, even without an ER visit, there are perilous billing risks. Not all hospitals and labs are capable of performing the test, and if they're not in my network? Before the pandemic, the Kaiser Health News NPR Bill of the Month project produced a feature about Alex Kasdan, a New Yorker with a head cold whose throat swab was sent to an out-of-network lab that billed more than $28,000 for testing. People, if that's not evil, and by the way, all of that is legal. It's legal within our system. Whatever the market will bear, Always remember, that's what our economic system says. Maximize profits for shareholders, not for the people. Maximize profits not for doing a good job. Maximize profits for the shareholders. And secondly, remember, whatever the market will bear, and I usually say two things. The market will bear whatever income, excess income you have, plus whatever you can borrow. After you've exceeded whatever you can borrow and whatever income you make, the only thing left is for you to go stealing, right? If it's something that you must have. And you know what has been occurring a long time? Things like that. There was another article that I wanted to show. Medicare for all. In a nation without Medicare for all, 3.5 million workers may have lost employer-provided insurance over the last 2 weeks. I want you guys to absorb that. This is one of the reasons I was explaining to my wife all the repercussions of this stuff not coming back. All those people that lost their insurance, right? They're not coming. They're not going to be going to the doctors. They're not going to be seeking help because they don't have the money with which to do it. And what do you think happens then? What do you think happens down the road? We have to get this together. So now I need to start shutting down. So here's what I want us to know that we have to do. We have to find ways now to start getting virtual protests going. And we're working on trying to figure out how we're going to do that. But we're starting to have virtual protests that gets the attention of the politicians. Because right now, they have the attentions of the corporatocracy. And they are already writing these bills. We have got to start pressuring them to put the things that we want in those bills. And we have got to start working with these politicians that want to be elected in November to promise to provide these things in lieu of what we expect from a lot of these bills to have going forward. So, folks, we have a lot of work to do. I had another article that I wanted to put out, but I'm running out of time from all this talking. But as coronavirus spread, poll shows nearly 60% in the U.S. believe political system designed solely for the powerful. And one of the things that we know now is Medicare for all is way over water. So it is time to push it. Folks, for those of you who come here before, you know that this is a political show that needs your support. So I'm asking, so kindly please go to PayPal, to store.politicsdoneright.com. Please go to store.politicsdoneright.com to support our show. That is how you can get, if you're watching this on the screen, you can see all the different t-shirts, cups, mugs, books that we have. If you're listening on a podcast, remember to just go to store.politicsdoneright.com. You get a chance to see all the different products that we have, and all the whatever profits we make from our cups or our t-shirts or whatever go right back into the show. Look, I work 16 hours a day to prepare this, and there are networking costs and all these other costs that we need to get covered. So I ask you so kindly to support us either through our store. But what I really would love is to get 1,000 members paying 1,000 members going to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is how we can make this sustainable. That is how we can keep this going. Without a constant growth of membership, we are not going to be able to hold on to this. And trust me, there are so many out there right now trying to tell you what you need not know. So please go ahead and go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. If you want to contribute directly, please contribute at paypal.me/politicsdoneright. That's paypal.me/politicsdoneright. And if you want to support our equipment fund, go to gofundme.com/independent-media-upgrade. But again, don't forget our store. Our store is there to serve you. Our store is there to help you out. And I really thank you guys for being here. Let me answer the last few things that I have on the screen here. Let's see what else came out. Hey, good afternoon, Troy Astro, and have a great day, sir. Thank you so kindly for being here. Please remember to share. Please remember to share. Let's see who else. Lee Grant says the coronavirus has created a pathological increase in population of Monday morning quarterbacks. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I don't think you should say that. Michael Rudnan says tying healthcare to employee benefits becomes a major crisis point during a pandemic. Wow, genius. Exactly. That is why healthcare should never have been tied to employment. That is absolutely so. Folks, I am going to have to get out of here now. I want to thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. I forgot to tell you, those of you that are on YouTube, you can click on the $sign to give me a super chat if you want to support the program as well. I always forget to do that one. I need to put that in my little document here. Super chat is a way to support the program. Anyhow, thank you so kindly for being here, folks. We have to do all of this together. When I speak and say, I love you all, Republican, Democrats, anarchists, progressives, liberals, conservatives, because I understand that all those labels have a reason. I understand that all those labels are designed for something. Yes, they have meaning, but they're also used to separate and break people apart. I believe we can do better. I intend to do better. And as hard-hitting as I am, all my conservatives on this thing know that I do honestly consider them my virtual friends. And if they were in Houston, I'll go have a cup of coffee with them, and they would be not only virtual friends, but real friends. Because real friends don't have to think alike. Real friends just have to remember each other's humanity. Real friends just have to remember to respect each other. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.